Welcome back to another episode of the AJ Sports Podcast. I am one half Anthony Carboni, and to my right is the other half Justin Vilche. And oh my goodness, what a trade deadline we just witnessed this past Friday, this whole past week, and everything coming together. Yesterday we saw a lot of the new guys playing with their new teams. A lot of winners at the deadline, a lot of losers at the deadline, a lot of buyers at the deadline, a lot of sellers at the deadline. We're going to get into it, but first we need to say what's up to the boy with the other boy, Justin. What is going on, my dude?
Everything good, bro. Everything good. It's crazy trade deadline. It was slow as shit, but it got better as the day went on. Today's our trade deadline episode. So let's get into it, bro.
All right, so I basically dated all from March 1st all the way to yesterday. I dated where every trade that happened on each day. So we're gonna go through each day specifically. March 1st, last week, we saw the Avalanche get Ryan Lindgren and Jimmy Vesey from the New York Rangers in exchange for a second round pick, a fourth round pick, Calvin DeHaan, and a prospect. Really good trade for the Avalanche, in my opinion. They add themselves another defenseman who can play all across the entire lineup. He can play third pair, he can play first pair if needed, he can play second pair if needed. Ryan Lindgren was a top pairing defenseman on the Rangers, and now he's got an opportunity to go for a Stanley Cup with the Colorado Avalanche. They get Jimmy Vesey, who can slot into the bottom six really well, be in and out of the lineup. As for the Rangers, they got a couple picks. They got a player in Calvin DeHaan and a prospect. What did you think of that trade? What did you think of that trade? And are the Rangers really like? Did they? We'll talk about if they sold or bought at the deadline. But what did you think of that trade between those two teams?
I thought it was a good deal for the Avs. I think you can never not have too many D-men, and I thought them adding another D-man in Lindgren was good. I mean, they already have a great defensive core, right, with Carr, Tays, and freaking Samuel Gerard, right? So just to name a few. So I mean, yeah, dude, it was good for them. They've won, I think, like five straight, so they're kind of on a heater. So I mean, look, they've done well. This deadline, it really started about a month ago when they traded for Wedgwood and Blackwood. So I mean, they continue to move forward, and it was a good deal. The Rangers, I don't really know what the plan was. They're fighting for a playoff spot, but he traded Ingrid away. I really don't understand what the process was from the Rangers at this deadline was, but I mean, I think it was a win for the Avs in this.
Yeah, I would say so too. The next trade we'll get into was between the Minnesota Wild and Nashville Predators, divisional rivals. The Wild acquired Gustav Nyquist in exchange for a second round pick and are retaining 50% of Gustav Nyquist's salary. Good pickup for the Wild as they're in the playoff race, looking to add some depth to their forward group. And Gustav Nyquist can definitely play across the lineup, definitely second to fourth line. You can slot him anywhere. Not really a big trade that happened, but I'd say a good pickup by the Wild. So I don't
Well,
know.
yeah.
Any thoughts on that, or just let's move on?
Nah, I was just Predators selling, right? Getting something out of somebody. So I mean, while they're trying to bolster, for the playoffs, and without Kaprizov right now, trying to get as many players as possible. So I mean, you know what? It doesn't really move the needle for me. If you're especially for Wilds fans, like bro, you're getting Gustav Nyquist. Like, let's calm down, right? But it was whatever. It's kind of just like a trade. Like, okay, depth, piece, I guess. So maybe slot him into like second line, maybe third line, and just call it a
Yeah,
day.
yeah, you could slide him across the entire forward lineup. And then the last trade on March 1st that we saw was between the divisional rivals of the Maple Leafs and Habs. The Florida Panthers acquire Seth Jones and a fourth round
Yeah.
pick in exchange for Spencer Knight and a first round pick with the Chicago Blackhawks retaining 26%, what a weird number, of Seth Jones's
20.
salary. I love this move for Florida in bolstering that defense. And with
Mhm.
what moves they did after March 1st, I think their goaltending
Yeah.
situation is fine for them to give up Spencer Knight. We'll excuse me. We'll
Yeah.
see how he does in Chicago. Maybe they might have regretted, but Florida's in a win mode now. They just won the Stanley Cup last year, and they're looking to repeat. And adding a guy like Seth Jones, who could be a first pairing defenseman on any NHL team, you could put him on your second pair on Florida, and they look dangerous on the back end. What did you think of that trade between the Panthers and Blackhawks?
I think it was a win-win. I think it worked out for all parties. I think the Hawks, got better, goaltending down the road. They had a Peter Mrazek at the time who eventually got traded. Then they still have a Arvid Soderblom. So I mean, him and Spencer Knight for the future. I mean, it could work. Spencer Knight's a good young goalie, right? And then, bro, the Panthers, like, wow, Seth Jones, who's a minute muncher, he could freaking play 25 minutes a night, right? If you need him to, he can run a first power play, he can run a second power play. He's good. He's good defensively, right? So I mean, look, a win on both parties. Seth Jones didn't really want to be in Chicago. He said it in press conferences after a game. He's like, things are not working out here. We're just as bad as we were in game one of the start of the season. So I mean, look, both teams got what they wanted, and it was a win-win. So a team rebuilding and the Hawks get a young goalie, a team fighting for the cup get a top D man. So I think it was good for both parties.
100% agree with you there. Moving on, March 4th, only one trade. It was between the Oilers, Devils, and Bruins in a three-way trade. The Oilers got Max Jones and Trent Frederick from Boston. The Devils end up getting a prospect and retaining 50% of Frederick's salary. And the Bruins get two prospects, a second and a fourth round pick. Oilers getting adding forward depth to their lineup, and Frederick and Jones are solid pieces to add to their bottom six. What did you think of
Yeah.
that trade for Edmonton? I mean, Boston, obviously looks like they're selling with what we'll talk about later. And New Jersey, with the news of Jack Hughes and Dougie Hamilton being out, looking to apparently still buy. I mean, selling a guy like Trent Frederick over to the Oilers. What do you think about that?
It was a cool little depth piece. I mean, again, as I've said in previous years, right? Like you can never have too much depth, right? It's always good to have depth. So I think the Oilers, adding a bottom six forward in Trent Frederick, who I mean was decent for the Bruins, right? Even come playoff time, like he was there. Like you could notice Trent Frederick there. So I mean, you know what? Oilers trying to bolster for the playoffs as well. I think it was good on all parties as well in this trade. Like, I don't think anybody got fleeced or anything. Oilers bolster for the playoffs. Bruins are selling. They get something out of Frederick and Mac Jones, and Devils are kind of just there. So the Devils, I don't really know what to think about the Devils, but I think it was good on all parties.
We'll talk about the Devils in their wild card race in a bit later, but yeah, I think it's a good trade for all sides. Moving on, 2 days before the deadline, March 5th, another annoying trade for you as a Leaf fan in this race for the Atlantic Division title, the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay Lightning, wow, in a three-way trade with the Kraken and Detroit Red Wings, they acquire Yanni Gord, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and a fifth-round pick. I believe that pick was from Detroit. The Seattle Kraken get two first-round picks from the Lightning, a second, and Michael Eyssimont. And the Red Wings get a fourth round pick and retaining 25% of Gord's salary. Oh my goodness, the Lightning have bolstered their bottom six and now look like another threat in the Eastern Conference. What did you think of that trade for the Tampa Bay Lightning?
um,
And I personally, before you continue, I think it was a bit of an overpay. Two first round picks for bottom six forwards, maybe even like, Gord can be in the top six. Elliot Friedman said it best on Sportsnet. It is definitely a seller's deadline. The sellers got a lot of good pieces from the teams that were looking to buy some players, and they were using their leverage like, hey, you want these players, you're gonna have to cough up a little bit more, and that's exactly what the Kraken did in this trade with the Lightning. What did you think of that trade, and how do you see the Lightning now that they added two strong pieces to their already strong forward core? And by the way, now 1 point back on the Leafs for second with the same amount of games
yeah.
played. So intensifying race for the Atlantic Division title. So what do you think of that trade?
To be honest, I'm not really moved by this deal. I just don't understand like the Lightning perspective. Like, yes, okay, you get Bjorkstrand, who is an extremely streaky player. He will either score in four straight or will go goalless in like 10 straight. So I don't really like Bjorkstrand's good when he's like kind of scoring, but like he's a streaky player. Yanni Gord, obviously, he's familiar with Tampa, right? And back in the day, right, he used to play for Tampa Bay Lightning as well. So like they pretty much just added Yanni Gord, good bottom six. Bjorkstrand probably gonna play third line. Their top six is pretty much already set. Their top six is absolutely disgusting. The fact that they give up two first round picks is kind of crazy. Hold on. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm not really like big on this deal. I don't think the Lightning got much better than what people are saying. Um, Honestly, as a Leaf fan, I'm not really like threatened by this deal. So this deal doesn't really move me as a Leaf fan. Like I'm not like threatened. Like oh my gosh, like Lightning got Bjorkstrand and Yanni Gord. Like bro, okay. Like they bolstered their bottom six a little bit, which is fine, right? Every team pretty much did that anyway. But like this move is like okay, I guess whatever. They overpaid. I couldn't find the word tremendously for these two guys, so not really moved.
Well, in my opinion, I think this really bolsters their team a lot. They add what Tampa was lacking last year in the playoffs was forward depth in the bottom six, and clearly it looks like to me that they added that depth and bringing back a guy like Yanni Gord who can eat up those bottom 6 minutes and grind in those corners and really take a lot of the pressure off of the, top two lines, and then Bjorkstrand as well. He doesn't have to. He was the most reliant guy on Seattle to get points, I would say. Him, Beniers, and McCann. So that takes a little bit of pressure off Bjorkstrand to play more of like his style and his game where he doesn't have to produce as much, but he can go into the corners and whatever, get the pucks in deep, get pucks on net, and score some goals. I really like this trade for Tampa. They look a lot stronger now, and like you said, depth adding too much depth isn't a bad thing necessarily, and these guys will definitely be playoff locks, like to be on the roster. And if I'm a Leafs fan, like if I was you, man, I wouldn't want to play the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round, man. Not again. Not after we saw that 2 years in a row that one time. So I would be a little bit worried, but with what we will talk we we will talk about what the Leafs added afterwards. But I do like this trade for Tampa a lot. As for Seattle, I mean, yeah, looks like they're selling. Clearly, they got rid of two decent players, and they got two first-round picks from it. So I'd say it's a win-win for them. Detroit just coming in there to to get some salary retention off that contract, but overall, a very good trade for the Tampa Bay Lightning, in my opinion. The Florida Panthers, they add another backup goalie to replace Spencer Knight. Vitek Vanacek in exchange for, I guess his name is Patrick Gills. I don't know who.
Okay, one sec. Just pause. Hold on.
It's okay. I'll talk to the fans. It's all good.
Okay.
I'll talk to the fans. Don't worry. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. Vanacek for Patrick Gills. Nothing too crazy there. I would say that, the Florida Panthers got a nice replacement for um, Spencer Knight. I think Vanacek, being the starting goalie in New Jersey, was very, he didn't really have anyone to rely on. If he was playing bad, he did have, I think his name was Anchorage Schmid, but like in the playoffs, so it wasn't really that, Vanacek couldn't really rely on a shoulder like that. So, he's going to be playing behind Sergei Bobrovsky, who's looking to, compete for the Stanley Cup again. And I think Vanacek is an overall decent goalie. I wouldn't really put him necessarily, I don't know, ahead of, I wouldn't really say anything like bad about him. He just, had a tough time in New Jersey and they ran him out of the city. He goes to San Jose in a trade and, he looks decent, but he was playing on the San Jose Sharks, so nothing too special. Now he gets an opportunity to get back into the playoffs and, take a little bit of relief off of him as Bobrovsky's looking to be the starting goaltender for, the Panthers in the playoffs. And I think Vanacek is a decent backup and he'll most likely won't play in the playoffs, but until the Panthers get there, he'll definitely be a piece to give Bobrovsky some rest heading towards the postseason. Um, yeah, so another depth piece for Florida, getting another backup goalie. Moving along to Pittsburgh and Nashville. This trade surprised myself, it surprised the hockey world, and it surprised Justin. The Penguins trade away Michael Bunting and a fourth round pick in exchange for Luke Shen and Tommy Novak. So the Predators get Bunting. What a surprising trade. I mean, the Penguins did get Bunting in what deal was that with the Hurricanes? It was with the Hurricanes, right? That last season where they got Bunting?
Yeah, it was for Gensel. Remember, it was like Bunting went the other way and Gensel went the other way.
Yes, yes, it was in the Gensel trade. Unbelievable, man. It was just like why? We were questioning why the Penguins would do such a thing, but what did you think of the trade?
I thought it was weird. I mean, I think Nashville are trying to get younger, right? So I understand. Okay, Michael Bunting going the other way. Pittsburgh eventually did flip Luke Shen over to the Winnipeg Jets in a couple days later on trade deadline day, right? So I mean, Pittsburgh. They also got Tommy Novak as well, right? Center. I guess for the future, right? So I mean, at first I didn't really understand. We assumed that Kyle Dubas would eventually flip Luke Shen for somebody else at the deadline, which he eventually did. So I can understand that, but I mean, it all makes sense right now, right? Like Nashville got Michael Bunting, for the future, right? Could score goals on his day, right? Like he scored 20 plus goals in a season in the past, right? And then Pittsburgh eventually, traded away Luke Shen for somebody, for younger pieces and picks. So I mean, it makes sense now, right?
Indeed, it does. Yeah, like you said, we're going to talk about Luke Shen getting flipped afterwards, but adding Tommy Novak, I guess, to their bottom six, young player, I guess he can really help them. And as for the Predators, I mean, I don't know why they would get Bunting, but okay, that's good for them, I guess. Moving on to March 6th, Thursday, the day before deadline day. A lot of decent moves happened on this day, so let's get into it right away. The Devils, after announcing Dougie Hamilton would be out indefinitely for the rest of the year, and with the GM not looking to back out and still compete for the playoffs, they acquire defense Brian Dumoulin from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for a prospect and a second round pick, retaining 50% of their salary. Man, two of your best players on your team go out. Jack Hughes is out for the year and will be back for training camp. Training camp.
Yeah.
Dougie Hamilton being announced out indefinitely. Okay, they're trying to lock down that third division spot in the Metro. With Columbus and the Rangers coming looking to take that spot for them, the Devils still say, we're gonna buy at the deadline and we're still gonna compete for the playoffs. And unbelievable, man. I'll talk about the Devils in a sec, like what about their moves and but like what do you think of this trade for them? Do you like the fact that they added another defenseman to replace Hamilton?
I do. I mean, honestly, they already have Luke Hughes who's going to replace Dougie Hamilton on the first power play, right? So you pretty much already had your replacement in your team. You just added Brian Dumoulin for again more depth, right? Just in case another man goes down, like a Brendan Dillon, right? So I mean, Dumoulin's there. The New Jersey Devils. Wow, this is getting really bad, really ugly. They're currently winning right now 2-0 in Philly. Um, but I mean that playoff spot could slip. Like they could potentially miss the playoffs as well. Jackets only 4 points back. Rangers I think only 4 to 6 points back out of them. And then look, if they fall into a wild card race, like there's teams fighting for that wild card spot as well. Red Wings, Jackets, Ottawa Senators, even the Habs, right? Like the Habs aren't too far off the Devils anyway, right? They're only 6 points back. So this could get ugly throughout the later course of the season. But I mean, it makes sense as to why they did it. But this really isn't going to help their season going forward. So
The New Jersey Devils are a guaranteed first round exit no matter where they finish in the regular season if they make playoffs. I think they lose to the Carolina Hurricanes if they lock down that third Metro spot. I think they lose to either the Panthers or the Capitals if they get the first wildcard spot or second wildcard spot. And if they miss playoffs, I wouldn't be surprised. Losing your two best players, your best defenseman, and your best forward, not great
this,
heading into the postseason at all. And to be honest, I think this would have been a perfect time to retool and miss playoffs this year, maybe. But I don't know, man. It's not looking good for Devils fans, and them missing play. It's just unfortunate the fact that these injuries had to take place, and yeah, these guys could be on the horizon to lose their playoff spot and miss playoffs for the second year in a row. But we'll see. They currently have that division third spot in the division, and they're up 2-0 against the Flyers. So we'll see what happens there. Moving along, Panthers again, back at it, adding a depth piece in Nico Stern from the Sharks in exchange for a fourth round pick. I like the move for the Panthers, another depth forward they can add to their roster. Um, Leafs, quiet. No moves yet until from March 1st to March 6th. So Panthers making three adds right there, adding a backup, a forward, and a defenseman. We'll see what happens. Well, what happened on trade deadline day. Uh, Again with the Rangers, we keep saying they're fighting for that playoff spot, but then they go look and do something like this. They traded Riley Smith, who they acquired in the offseason, looking to bolster their right wing spot on their team because the top two right wingers like they needed to fill that void pretty badly. They looked to Riley Smith to do that in the offseason, but it just hasn't worked out. They trade him back to Vegas, one of the original misfits of Vegas. They get a guy in Brendan Brisson and a third round pick. Just a strange trade again from the Rangers. Like, why are you trading guys who could potentially help you make the playoffs? What did you think of that deal?
I thought it was weird. I don't really understand why they traded him. Maybe it's because it was one of the misfits in New York. Because Riley Smith does play right wing. They already had I think JT Miller or Zibanejad playing second line right wing, and then they already had Lafreniere playing first line right wing. So I do still believe that he still could have been good for the bottom six. Playing third line right wing, but I don't know. I don't really know why they traded him away. Like, sure, you get a third round pick in Brendan Bryson, who I never heard of. But I mean, good on Vegas. They add, Riley Smith, who's obviously familiar with the team, obviously familiar with the city. So I mean, good on Vegas. New York still really confusing as to why they did this. No reports came out as to, what was the reason as to why they traded away Riley Smith. But yeah, this was one of the more confusing deals at this deadline.
Indeed. Um, Panthers again. Oh my goodness. They make another move. They add another goaltender in Capo Kakinen from the Jets in exchange for Chris Drieger, sending him to Winnipeg. I like the move for the Panthers, adding another young goalie, two younger goalies to replace Spencer Knight, and I think they can rotate between Vanacek and Kakinen heading to the playoffs. It's a decent trade. Drieger over to the Jets. I mean, never really got a chance in Florida since Knight and Bobrovsky were playing on their A game. So at least maybe he'll get an opportunity to if Eric Comrie's not playing so great as a backup, Chris Drieger could definitely slide into that backup role.
Yeah,
Nothing too crazy there. So
yeah. Just I think this is just one of those traits to like just get both guys into like different cities, on different teams, see what they can do if a chance opens up for both of them. I mean, it was whatever. Like, okay, it happened. You know,
Okay, so
Actually,
as we talked about the Rangers selling a lot of players, they actually bought a player here. They traded a third round pick to the Canucks in exchange for Carson Soucy. Interesting,
who
interesting.
scored actually
who
yesterday?
scored who scored in his debut yesterday against the Senators in an intense game because both fighting for the wild card spot. But I don't know, like how confusing is it that they trade a guy like Ryan Lindgren, one of their top pairing defensemen. They trade a guy like Riley Smith who can play top six forward, and they end up getting another defenseman who can basically, I guess, replace Ryan Lindgren. What did you think? What do you think? What do you think? Like, where do the Rangers sit? Like, to me, it's confusing. I have no idea if they were buying at the deadline, or if they're selling. It just confuses the shit out of me.
It does, yeah, me as well. Because I don't really know what was the point of trading away Ryan Lindgren if you're just gonna get Carson Soucy. You also gave away a third round pick, which who knows? Maybe down the road it could be valuable. If the Canucks use that pick properly. But again, I don't really understand this move. The Rangers, to me personally, like I understand they got JT Miller, but they were kind of on the losing side of this deadline. Uh, it was just made no sense. Like it really just made no sense. Like this whole deadline from the Rangers, like they're fighting for a wild card spot and they go ahead and do this. Uh, yeah, like I don't really have much else to say on the Rangers, like on this deadline.
And besides adding,
Like I guess he's
besides trading Eric Brännström from RB Kubel, that was their last deadline move. So
yeah,
nothing really,
like
nothing too special from the Rangers. A team that who like should be buying because they
they
know
should.
they know they're a good enough team to make the playoffs, and they're not where they want to be because of past play in the regular season this year. So I don't know why they didn't just take advantage of what they had and just added a bunch of assets. Like there's a lot of good players that could have been added to that team. Like Luke Shen would have been a perfect addition to that Rangers team, knowing Adam Fox is
Yeah,
not going to be playing, right? And especially a lot of the depth forwards that we saw go for such little price. I feel like stuff like that the Rangers could have capitalized on, but Chris Drury, a shit deadline for him, in my opinion. Nothing too crazy. Now I am uncertain with if the Rangers will make the playoffs or not. I am not as confident as I was before, especially with what the Senators have added at the deadline. So we'll get into that shortly. But, they have to just play their best hockey now. A game against Columbus tonight at home, MSG, is a must win game
must win.
against another team fighting for the wild card spot. So if they get the win tonight in at home, I believe it might be Shesterkin in net. They need this win if they want to compete for the playoffs. But if they don't win this game, we're going to see what happens with the Rangers. But moving along to the Oilers, just close to the end of the night, the Oilers needed another defenseman, as defense has always been a talking point for the Oilers. They add a great player in Jake Wallman from the San Jose Sharks in exchange for a prospect and a conditional first round pick. for Jake Wallman. A
Yeah.
first round pick for Jake Wallman. I like Jake Wallman as a player. He gets a lot of shots. He in the game last night, he just decked Renton a couple times,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was
Right in center ice. Holy.
right at center ice. But I like the addition of Wallman. He could play both sides. Edmonton were looking to get a defense who can play on the right or left side, and they got that with Wallman. But giving up a first round pick, I understand it is a sell. Like Elliot Friedman said, it's a seller's deadline. But man, a first round pick for Jake Wallman. They are in win now mode. They have to go for the cup because McDavid's contract is expiring soon, and we have no idea if he's going to resign or not. So I mean, good on the Oilers for getting what they need, but giving up a first round pick again, it's just like first round picks have lost their value. What do you think? What did you think of the deal?
Think Woolman would have been the perfect addition for the New York Rangers. Without Adam Fox there, I think Wallman could have stepped in. Obviously, played first power play because, bro, they have Zach Jones playing first power play in New York. Like, who the hell is that? So I think Wallman would have been the perfect addition for New York. Edmonton, I'm kind of confused as to why they added Wallman. Like, they don't really need an offensive defenseman like Wallman because they already have Evan Bouchard. But I mean, like can understand the addition. Like, okay, you need a defenseman. Wallman can put up points. He can be there and block shots, right? I understand that, but like, was Wallman really the guy to go out and get from an Edmonton perspective? Like, and honestly, personally, I don't really think Edmonton should have focused on defense. I think they really should have focused on goaltending this freaking deadline because my goodness, their goaltending is absolutely atrocious. So giving up a first for Wallman, a conditional first, is kind of crazy. I do think they were looking at the wrong position to upgrade. I think, as I just said, goaltending should have been the position that they should have upgraded. But Wallman is still a good defenseman, right? Like, let's not put it past him. Like, Wallman is still good defensively, right? So I think it was a good trade. San Jose, obviously selling. By the way, San Jose has to give, a lot of praise to Wallman's play at the first season, at the first half of the season. Because remember, Wallman was on an absolute tear, at the first half of the season, putting up tons of points. And I think him performing that well obviously got him a first round pick. So I think San Jose did a great job getting a first round pick along with Carl Berglund. So I mean, great on San Jose. Rebuild is still there. They've actually performed better this season. I've been watching a couple Sharks games, and they look actually really
They
electric
beat
on the
your
ice.
Maple
So
Leafs in the third period. They beat your Maple Leafs. They came back and beat the Leafs on
yeah,
home ice, on their home ice in Toronto. So yeah,
yeah.
I would give a lot of credit to the Sharks because beating San
A
Jose
lot of
isn't
credit to the
for
Sharks.
beating San Jose isn't for everybody. So I understand. But yeah, good move on the Sharks. I like what you said. They are looking really good for the future. I love Celebrini and Will Smith as players. They're looking so good. So watch out for them in the
Yeah.
future. Finally, to conclude, March 6th, heading into trade deadline day, the Bruins trade away Justin Brazeau, a big guy on their team, big forward, one of their prospects. They trade him in exchange for Lauko going back to the Bruins and a sixth round pick. Again, looks like the Bruins are just trying to sell their players, get some pieces back. They got another forward. They got their former forward back in Lauko, and they got a six. Nothing too crazy to end the night. Heading into the March 7th deadline. Is there anything you want to say about that before we move on to the biggest day of the year?
Nah, let's just move on, bro. That was just like depth pieces, just going the other way, like whatever.
Well then, let's start with the first trade of the day. I guess that might have been it could have been like 12 o'clock in the morning, but
It's already 12 a.m.
this trade here happened so late. It was either March 7th early in the morning or March 6th in the evening. Brock Nelson goes to the Colorado Avalanche, a player that was on the Leafs radar, was on the Jets radar, didn't even think of Colorado. He goes to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for a first, a third, a prospect, Oliver Shillington, and 50% retained. The Avalanche also get a prospect in return also. I love this trade for the Avalanche. Brock Nelson, after an emotional interview on the Islanders' win against the Jets, was talking about how much he loves playing here, whatever. Islanders, definitely, in my opinion, we're not going to make playoffs this year. They are not looking strong enough. And for Brock Nelson to go to a team like the Avalanche, who are stacked now, definitely relieve a lot of pressure off McKinnon playing in the top six because their center depth. I mean, Middlestat was not having a great season with the Avalanche. It just didn't seem like a fit. And I think Nelson, I mean, that game last night, we'll talk about it, but Nelson looked really strong on this Avalanche team. He first shift of the game, he hits the post. Like, think about that. He was getting a lot of chances with the
Winning.
Avalanche team. And with the high scoring offense of the Avalanche, Nelson could definitely add to that. I love this trade for Colorado. What do you think of it?
I think it was a good. I think it was a good trade on both ends. I think the Avalanche, they were never really happy with Middlestad's play ever since they got him last year, and I did believe that Middlestad was going to go the other way to the Islanders, but he eventually got traded later on in the day to the Boston Bruins in a different trade. I think Nelson. This ad is tremendous. McKinnon yesterday he did a post game interview and he said that we actually got the best player at this deadline in Brock Nelson. I was like, whoa, okay, that's kind of a big statement there. But I was like, okay, sure, but whatever. So I think Brock Nelson, great addition, will fit in perfectly on that second line. I mean, dude, Brock Nelson can score. He can play defense. He wins puck battles. He's gritty. Brock Nelson is that playoff type of guy, and I think it's a tremendous deal for them. The Islanders, I think they did tremendous. Getting what they got back. Nelson's probably going to be a rental. He's 33. His contract ends this year, and they retain 50%. So good on the Avs on $3 million for Brock Nelson. That's absolutely tremendous. The Islanders got a first round pick, a conditional third, Callum Ritchie, who's young. I think he's like 22, 23. Shillington, and yeah. So I mean, look, they got a lot for a rental. That is tremendous work by Barry. No, not Trot. Is it Trot?
Lou Armorello.
Who's the GM for the? Oh yeah, Morello. Yeah, sorry. That was tremendous work by Morello on getting that big package for Nelson. So tremendous work on both sides, and yeah, I think it's going to work out for both teams. I think the Avs are going to make the Final Four. I think they're going to make the Western Conference Final. Um, yeah, it just worked out perfectly for both teams, and you know what? Let's go. Avs cooked on this one, and Islanders got a lot. So I think both parties are happy with this.
I would have to agree. The Ducks ended up acquiring Oliver Shillington for future considerations. The Islanders didn't end up trading him, but Oliver Shillington has not played an NHL game for a while, so we will. It's not really a big deal, but
Yeah. He was playing for the Flames. He was playing a lot for the Flames a couple years ago, and then I guess I don't know what happened. I guess the coach never
injured,
liked
and
them,
then
and then
he just got injured, and he's never been the same, which is unfortunate to see for a player. But anyways, Capitals, a team that doesn't really need to didn't really need to add at the deadline. They were already first in the Eastern Conference. They ended up picking up Anthony Beauvillier in exchange for a second. I like the depth piece that they got. They were looking at Nelson. I did hear about that. But I mean, the package that the Avalanche gave up, I think didn't think was good enough for the Capitals, especially because the Capitals last year were literally, just fighting for a wild card spot. They have prospects. Like the future of Washington is bright, despite, them being first now. They're going to look really strong in the next couple years. So good on them for not giving up a lot of their best prospects and stuff because they're still going to be a really good team in the future. But they pick up Anthony Beauvillier to add to the bottom six. What do you think of the trade? I think it's a solid one. Nothing too big, but I think a strong trade for the Capitals.
yeah, it was kind of weird. It's always weird seeing Washington and Pittsburgh, training with each other. Pittsburgh got a second round pick for Bouvillier, who really hasn't done great for Pittsburgh anyway. Now again, it is Pittsburgh, right? So I mean, Washington, bolstering up for the playoffs, as most of these teams did anyway. So I mean, a second round pick, okay, it's whatever. Next trade, I guess.
A trade now that I think the Leafs should have been all over. Kings and Flyers. The Flyers trade away Andrei Kuzmenko and a seventh round pick in exchange for a third and 50% retain on Kuzmenko's salary. What a steal for the LA Kings. Holy shit, that is insane. They get a pick in return, along with Andrei Kuzmenko, who, let's not forget, in his rookie season almost got it was in the 70-point range. He had like 30 goals or 40, close to 40 goals. So him now going to a team like the Kings, who are fighting to, trying to get into the play or going to get into the playoffs, but looking to make an impact this time. Only giving up a third round pick and they 50% retention on the salary. My goodness, man! Like Kuzmenko is a guy like Calgary gave up on. The Flyers clearly gave up on instantly. We're looking to flip, and now he goes to a team like the LA Kings, who have a lot of great European forwards, and now it's good. They're gonna look really good with Kuzmenko in that team. What did you think? And should have the Leafs been on that? You think? Because I think they should have been all
Yeah,
over that.
100%. I tweeted it yesterday when the deal happened. No, on Friday. I was like, bro, the Leafs should have been all over this. They lack left wing depth tremendously. Um, Kuzmenko is making 5.5 now. The Kings got him at 50% retained, so that's 2.75 mil. He's only 29, right? He can score goals. We know he can score goals. I think the Kings did an excellent job getting another left winger like this, bolstering up their forward court, which their forward court is already great as of right now. Getting more scoring. I think the Leafs should have done this deal if they should have at least called. I hope they at least called and be like, okay, what do you want for Kuzmenko? Yeah, I like Kuzmenko as a player. I guess never really fit. I mean, obviously with the Flyers, he only played like a couple games, right? He actually did score against his former team, the Flames, last week. So I thought that was really funny. But yeah, I mean, look, the Kings did a tremendous on this deal. The Leafs should have got this deal done. But I mean, you know what? Good on the Kings. And you know what, bro? They got better with this deal. I really like this. I think this is one of the more underrated deals at the deadline that nobody's really talking about. I think Kuzmenko could really be a problem in the playoffs for anybody that faces up against the Kings.
A trade now that we were looking at, a guy, Dylan Cousins. He's been on everybody's radar. He's been on the Leafs radar. We know the Habs have been interested. Detroit. Well, he ends up going to the Ottawa Senators. Him, Dennis Gilbert, and a second round pick in exchange for Josh Norris, Jacob Bernard Docker. And a very interesting trade. I did not expect Josh Norris to be moved at the deadline, as the Sens, are looking to make the playoffs for the first time since 2017. They get a young guy in Dylan Cousins and trade away a guy like Josh Norris. Wow, I couldn't believe that Josh Norris was going to be the guy to go. What do you think of that trade? Does it help or does it worsen the Senators? And what do you think of Buffalo now, losing one of their good young players?
I think honestly this was a win for Ottawa. I think Josh Norris, I think he's too injury prone. He's already had multiple, I think, shoulder surgeries. I know for a fact he's injured his shoulder twice already. And Norris, dude, he really hasn't like. There's been a lot of like hype around Josh Norris for a couple of years, and he really hasn't found his game. Now that's because of injuries. I think Cousins is only 23. Cousins, he brings grit, he can score goals. He brings good depth to that, and honestly, probably could play second line, honestly, for the Ottawa Senators. He's going to find his game. I like Cousins as a player. I do think the Leafs should have at least. I do think the Leafs should have gotten him at this deadline. I think he's only 23. He could obviously replace John Tavares, in the long run, if we eventually got him. But yeah, I think Ottawa Senators did a great job. They also got a second round pick. Along with Dennis Gilbert, okay, whatever, defenseman. But obviously, the main focal point was Cousins and Norris. Buffalo, like, okay, you get Bernard Docker, who you could definitely put maybe in the top four down the road. Norris. Norris is, I don't know. I do really like what Ottawa did here. They got rid of a guy who's injury prone for Cousins, who is pretty much healthy a lot of the time and can score, right? Yeah, and plus, dude, Cousins, dude, yesterday he fucking had like an assist on like 8 hits or something. Like he was throwing his body all over the place, right, in that game against the Rangers. So honestly, this is a good on Ottawa. And as much as I hate to say it, Ottawa did well here. Ottawa did
I
extremely well.
fucking hate it because the Habs should have been all over this, especially with the lack of center depth besides Suzuki and Evans. I think Cousins would have been a great fit for Montreal, and I think a trade should have happened there. But Habs did fuck all at the deadline and are looking to still compete for the playoffs. So we'll see. We'll see. However, I love this deal for Ottawa. Great addition for them. Like you said, Norris injury prone. He hasn't been healthy. It's been recorded. He's missed a lot of time with shoulder surgery. And now Stutzla, Cousins, and who's their other center? What's his name? I'm trying to remember his name. They got another really good depth center at third line. Forget his name, but they look really strong, the Sens, right now with Dylan Cousins. Oh man, that wild card spot now. Was that
Yeah, Pinto.
Pinto? That's it, Pinto.
Pinto.
Pinto parlays. There
Yes.
you go. Solid, three
Yeah.
centermen right there. And man, this is gonna change my opinion. I have a feeling now that they could definitely lock in one of those wild card spots now with that with I mean, especially that game against the Rangers yesterday. Like, wow, I couldn't believe they beat them on home ice, securing like getting that fucking getting closer to that wild card one spot. They're definitely not catching Lightning, Leafs, or Panthers. However,
No.
that wild card spot is looking really nice, and a series between the Kachuk brothers in the first round could be a possibility.
That
So that would be really
would-
insane. But I like this. I like this move for the Senators. And yeah, moving on to the biggest talk of the deadline, the biggest trade
biggest
of the
trade.
deadline, the biggest trade. I want to say one thing. Last week, I tweeted that Mikko Rantanen could be on the move, just as a rumor. He could get traded again, and some motherfucker on Twitter, like, oh, where's your source? Where's your source?
who does nothing, sitting in his mom's basement all day, is hating for no reason. Like,
because
bro,
I
get a life, bro.
because I tweeted something like, "Yo, Rantanen could be on the move," and guess what? I was fucking right, and he got moved again. So shut the fuck up, whoever the fuck that was. And he gets traded to the Dallas Stars. Oh my goodness, to the Dallas Stars in exchange for two third round picks, two, two first round picks, and Logan
Additional, yeah.
Stankoven. Now, before I continue with this deal and we analyze this, the Toronto Maple Leafs apparently had the best offer on the table, offering Fraser Minton, Easton Cowan, and two first round picks. The Hurricanes said no in a report because they thought they could meet them in the playoffs. And they did
Yeah.
not want to give Rantanen to a team like the Leafs who they could potentially meet in the playoffs. Also, the Toronto Maple Leafs approached Mitch Marner and asked him to waive his no movement clause for a trade to go to the Hurricanes for Rantanen. And Marner said, no, I'm not doing it. We're going to talk about Marner in a second, but man, the Rantanen for Marner could have potentially happened, and Marner would have been gone
Yeah.
if he had said yes. But I think that this is a good thing for the Leafs to not trade for Rantanen. They offered also $13 million for 8 years. When he went to Dallas, he signed for 8 times 12. So they got into agreement there. We'll talk about the Leafs in a little bit. I want to talk about that for sure. But ranted it to the Stars. Holy shit, the Stars look really gross. The game yesterday didn't look like it, but they did play the Edmonton Oilers in Ranta's debut. They were down. I was watching. They were down 5-1 at one point, but did battle back. It was bad. It was bad. But for the playoffs, you're talking Robertson, Hintz, Rantanen. You got Johnston, and who else? You got Granlund. You've got guys like Jamie
Yeah.
Benn. You've got
And
yeah, you've
yeah.
got Sagan who can come back. You've got Dadonov on the depth. You got SL Lindell. Like you got players that can play. What do you think of that
Remember,
trade?
no Heiskanen yet. He's still injured. I mean, bro, this deal shocked me. I did not expect the Dallas Stars to be in this race. Also, by the way, earlier in the day, they literally said, "Oh, there was reports saying Mikko Rantanen, like the deal might not work because Rantanen doesn't want to sign the 8 year, $12 million deal," which to me made absolutely no sense because, bro, first of all, you're not gonna get your 14 million. No team has offered you that yet. Nobody wants you at 14 mil. And two, bro, Texas is literally a non-tax-free state. Okay, bro, you're not getting tax your money, bro. You're getting all your money. If you went to Carolina, you would have lost your money. If you went to Toronto, you would have lost your money because of the taxes. Texas, you don't get taxed over there, bro. So you're getting every cent possible, every cent of this contract, right? So I think him going to Dallas made a lot of sense. He's going to be competing for a cup for a while because this Stars team is disgusting for it looks like it, for the future down the road. I like this deal on both sides. You know, Carolina with everything that was happening, I thought they did tremendous getting Stankoven two first and two thirds. I think they actually got a lot for Mikko Rantanen, considering how Rantanen already said that he doesn't want to resign. Carolina did well here. Stankoven, obviously, we know how good Stankoven can be. He's still young. I think he's like 23. He's gonna be there for the future, bro. Like Jarvie and like Stankoven, like oh my goodness gracious me, right? Get two first and two thirds. I think it was tremendous on both parties. Mikko Rantanen found his new home, in Dallas, Carolina. They obviously did get worse, right? But I mean, honestly, I don't think it's by that much. Stankoven, I think is going to be an absolute machine down the road, right? And yeah, I think with everything that was happening, Carolina did absolutely tremendous, getting Stank two first and two thirds. Like, I,
Carolina is also not
I
a
don't really.
city. Carolina's not a city. A lot of players think about going to. Just to think right now, in the past like year and a half, they had Getzel, Natchez, and Rantanen in their roster. You know how crazy that is.
Yeah,
They did lose them all, but at the end of the day, I guess I don't know where the Hurricanes sit. I don't think they're a threat in the Eastern Conference at all, in my opinion. The goaltending is a huge issue for me. And now the lack of scoring on the forwards now, losing a guy like Rantanen and Natchez. I don't know how that's going to compete against a team like the Capitals or even potentially the Panthers in the conference final. But I like the move for Dallas a lot. They're definitely one if not the second team in the West I think is going to come out of there and compete for the Stanley Cup in the final. I really love this deal for the Stars, and man, look out because we're going to talk about a first round matchup that I think we're probably going to see with the Stars in a pretty intense rival. But we're going to talk about that later. I really like this deal for Dallas. One of the rivals, Winnipeg Jets, we talked about this earlier. They get Luke Shen for a second and a fourth. Pretty simple. We thought that the Leafs were going to inquire on Luke Shen. I'm surprised they didn't. That would have added, but they did go for another guy, which we'll talk about later. But good move for
Oh
the
yeah.
Jets. They did say they were looking for a defenseman, and they got that defenseman indeed. Moving along with the Toronto Maple Leafs now. Finally, Brad woke up from his nice 5 fucking day nap
Yes.
and woke up on trade deadline day. And Scott Lawton, the guy who was in trade talks for all week, going to the Jets, maybe the Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs had very high interest. They end up getting Scott Lawton for a fourth and a sixth round pick in exchange for a first round pick. Ugh, and Nikita Gorbenkin, and they retain 50% salary. Lawton has another year on that deal, by the way, so he's gonna be with the team next year too, unless they extend him. They could extend him in the offseason, but in my opinion, a first round pick is not worth Scott Lawton. That to me is
Yeah.
that to me was an overpay, considering what we saw for for Kuzmenko, who has more points, I think, than Lawton. I think that was a huge overpay, in my opinion. A first round pick for Scott Lawton, man, unbelievable. What did you think of that trade? To me, sure, the Leafs got a depth center, which I still don't think they needed a center at the deadline. I still don't, like you said, the left wing spot has been needing another person. You cannot have Pontus Holmberg playing second left wing. So, what did you think of that deal getting Scott Lawton?
I tweeted True Living should just go back to sleep. I mean, bro, this was not good. I thought we got absolutely fleeced. Bro, Scott Lyon is 32 years old, bro. Okay, listen, bro. You giving up a first round pick, a fucking first round pick for a 32-year-old depth center. Yeah, sure, maybe he'll play left wing because he can play left wing, but that's not gonna happen. Okay, you give him up. Okay, you give up a first round pick in Nikita Gorbenkin, who, yes, okay, obviously hasn't played many games, and he's like obviously a fan favorite, back check, forecheck, paycheck, right? But let's be honest, like Gorbenkin, we don't really know what his ceiling is, right? So whatever. A first round pick though for Scott Lawton, okay, 32 years old. Okay, we get him at 50% retained. Okay, so $1.5 million, 1.5 million. Okay, for this year, next year, whatever, fine. But bro, a first round pick, I can guarantee you right now, we could have definitely gone to somebody better. Okay, than fucking Scott Lawton for our first round pick and Grabankin. Yeah, sure, we get a fourth and a sixth round pick, but bro, there's no way Scott Lawton costs a first rounder, bro. Like, there's no fucking way that was possible. You're telling me you couldn't have went to go get somebody else? Okay, that doesn't cost a fucking first round pick. Like, or somebody better that costs a first round pick. Brock Nelson, we could have gone. I do believe we could have gone Brock Nelson. Okay, we could have easily gone Brock Nelson. I would have a first round pick for Brock Nelson. Okay, I understand that. Okay, Brock Nelson is better than Scott Lyon. Okay, but bro, this was absolutely ridiculous. And when this trade happened, I was not a fan. I was not happy. Okay, I was like, what the hell are we doing, Brad? Just go to bed. Okay, just keep sleeping. We don't need this. Okay, but I was like, bro, and I'm still not happy about this deal. I think we got fleeced, and I don't think this is good on Brad's part. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. I am not a fan.
That was one
This
of two.
sucked.
That was one of two moves. We'll talk about their next move afterwards. But the Jets add Brandon Tanev for a second round pick. I think the Leafs should have been all over that. I think Brandon Tanev reuniting the Tanev brothers in Toronto would have been a perfect piece, especially because he can play left wing. He can play left wing, and he's a grinder. He can do stuff like that.
Yeah.
He can go into the corners and get the pucks in deep and fight and be a feisty player that the Leafs don't have. They waived Ryan Reeves. They don't have anybody to fight anymore. It's unbelievable. So now a player like Brandon Tanev goes to the Winnipeg Jets, another depth piece for them, which is what they needed. They were looking for a bottom six forward and a defenseman, and they got it.
I would have easily taken like traded away second round pick for Ben Tanev than a fucking first and banking for fucking Scott Lund. Like, what are we fucking doing right now, bro? Oh my god, bro, I was heated, bro. I was fucking heated. By the way, these trades happened a minute apart. By the way, the Scott Lund trade happened at 12:52. The Ben Tanev deal happened at 12:53. Oh, bro, I was heated, bro. Oh my god, bro.
So
Oh,
we're going to get to
I
your
was
Leafs in a little
pissed.
bit, but let's talk about the Avalanche again. As we talked about, Casey Middlestat was not a fit. They trade him to the Boston Bruins and a second round pick and a prospect in exchange for Charlie Coyle. Really interesting
Yeah.
move. And a fifth. Charlie Coyle looked great last night in Colorado in his first game. Oh my goodness. McKinnon, Nelson, Coyle as your
Yeah.
one, two, three punch right there, centerman. Oh my goodness, a great piece for the Avalanche. They look so good now. I like this trade for Colorado. Casey Middlestat, nothing crazy to Boston. Clearly, Boston's just getting rid of a lot of their pieces. I love this move for the Avalanche.
Yeah,
What do you think? What do you think?
I think the Avs. When McKinnon speaks, you listen, bro. He said that we're gonna win this cup like with veteran players, with older players. And bro, you know what? McFarland listened, and bro, he was getting shit done, bro. Nelson, Coyle, like obviously Blackwood and Wedgwood, like obviously like a month ago. But bro, like this is tremendous on fucking Colorado's part, right? They give away Casey Middlestat, who they weren't a fan of. He wasn't producing as they would have hoped for, right? You know what? They sent him off to Boston, and whatever. They get the deal done, and they get a 5th-round pick, so you can't complain. Avs cooked on this one again. Yeah, bolstered the lineup. 1-2-3 punch, as you said. Oh, it's just, bro. Nobody would want to face this Avs team, bro. I'm telling you right now, bro. Oh, holy, bro. I don't care that they're in a wild card spot, bro. As of right
They're
now,
not. They're not. They're not. They're not. They're third.
Oh, yeah, but the win yesterday, huh?
So
Dallas, Colorado.
which is what we're gonna say for later. But listen, let's move on. Detroit and Chicago. Chicago got Joe Veleno from the Red Wings in exchange for Peter Mrazek and Craig Smith. What a stupid fucking trade, if you ask me. Why the fuck do they need another goaltender? They have Detroit, man. Oh my goodness, I was talking to one of our guys that we work with. I mean, everybody knows Minnie. I was talking to Minnie at work about this. He thinks Detroit's gonna fall out and not make the playoffs, and I'm starting to agree with him. They haven't been great. They're on a 4-game losing streak, I think, or did they win last night? Did they win last night?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
So it's 4 or 5 games now they've lost in a row. So it's not looking good for the Red Wings. Yeah, no, they lost to the Capitals on Friday.
Friday.
So they're on a 5-game losing streak right now. Not great. They trade Joe Veleno, a guy who can play in like the bottom 6, and they add Craig Smith, who is kind of garbage now. He's old, and they added Peter Mrazek, which I mean, where the fuck is he gonna fit in this goaltending rotation that they have? Like honestly, so I think it's an L on the Red Wings. To be honest, I think this win is more for Chicago. They do add another depth forward who can help the team bolster up. And he is a younger guy. I forget how old he is. He's got to be mid-20s. But yeah, I mean, nothing special for the Red Wings. And to me, they don't look like they're going to fight for that wild card spot much longer.
Yeah, I don't really understand this move. Red Wings, kind of an L deadline. Actually, no, it is an L deadline. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about this one. This is kind of just like whatever. Like it happened. Like, okay, like, sure. Like, there's really not much to say.
Moving along, biggest trade in my opinion, well, second biggest trade of the day of the day. After talks with Marchand in his contract extension with the Bruins, Brad Marchand gets traded to the Florida Panthers in exchange for a conditional 2nd-round pick with 50% salary retention. So 50% off $6.1 million. Holy shit. Brad Marchand is now on the Florida Panthers and could potentially play on a line with Sam Bennett and Matthew Tkachuk, the rat line. Oh my goodness, Justin. The Panthers are honestly might go back to back. They are the Eastern Conference favorite right now. They have to be. They are the best team in the Eastern Conference up and down the lineup when it comes to goaltending, when it comes to defense, when it comes to depth, and when it comes to forwards. A top 6 right now. Carter Verhaeghe, Alexander Barkov, Sam Reinhart, Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett, Matthew Tkachuk. What a fucking gross team. What a fucking gross team. What did you think of the deal? Boston clearly getting rid of everybody.
Yeah.
Are you scared to play the Florida Panthers in the playoffs?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, as a Leaf fan, we're not beating this Florida team. We gotta avoid these guys at all costs. We just gotta avoid these guys, bro. Like, honestly, bro, we have to hope that the first round pick. No, oh my god, what am I saying? I'm so pissed. Okay, I hope we get first round. Oh my god, I hope we get first place in the Atlantic so that Florida and Tampa just absolutely kill each other in the first round, and then we go from there. Because, bro, I'm not trying to see Florida, bro. Please, I pray to God we don't. Brad Marchand, obviously Leaf killer, and he's going to freaking Florida Panthers. Like, what am I seeing, bro? Like, the Leafs cannot compete with that rat line if fucking Paul Maurice does that rat line. The fact that Boston only got a second round pick is really confusing. Like, how do you only get a second round pick for Brad Marchand?
Well,
Like, and they retained
hold on.
50.
It's a conditional. So if Brad Marchand plays 25% of the games in the playoffs in the regular season, it becomes a first round pick.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay, so first round pick is definitely gonna happen. Okay. Yeah, I mean, okay, when you say it like that, okay, sure, it works out for both teams. Boston gets first round pick, pretty much. Florida gets, Brad freaking Marchand. By the way, like, we obviously know who Brad Marchand is, right? Like, he's not no scrub, right? Like, we know who the biggest rat I've ever seen in my life, right? And he goes to the freaking Florida Panthers, who also have bigger rats, right? So it's like, bro,
Dude, the rat line is only going to consist of Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett, and Matthew Tkachuk.
yeah,
I,
bro,
I
I
get,
can only see that,
they're
bro.
going to kill the Matthews line. They're going to bitch Marner. They're going to bitch Nylander, and they're going to injure Matthews. They are literally
Yeah.
the Leafs' worst nightmare in the playoffs. And let's not forget, if Tampa continues to play really strong and win the division, the Leafs could beat the Panthers in the first round. And I'm fine being honest with you. If the Leafs do not win the division title, they're not winning a round in the playoffs. I don't care how you say it. They could be. I don't care. They are. This is not the Leafs' year. If Florida is, if this is how the Florida team is built, there's no shot they beat the Panthers in first, second, or third round.
Oh,
So the Leafs have to
no,
win the division. They have to win the division. It is a must for the Toronto Maple Leafs to win the division because, oh my goodness, you could avoid playing the Panthers. You could go through the Metro division if you have to play Carolina second round or some shit. But man, it is not, or third round, sorry, but not good enough to beat the Florida Panthers right now. Oh my goodness, Brad Marchand on the Florida fucking Panthers. Now Don Sweeney did say in the press conference it was hard, you know, they said something along the lines that it's just pissed Boston Bruins fans off. The fact that they traded Marchand and I just Don Sweeney has just been a
yeah,
constant L. Do you remember what he said specifically?
yes. He did his press conference, and he was like, "Yeah, well, we're kind of jealous of these teams, and if I just did my job properly, we would have been in that position like the Florida Panthers. We wouldn't be selling right now." And I was like, "Bro, so you pretty much just admitted that you're not doing your job properly, okay? And you're pretty much getting yourself fired. Dude, you just said yourself, I'm not doing my job properly, bro.
Oh man.
And you can't just say that to Bruins fans, like, admit it that, yeah, I'm just not doing it properly. Like, bro, you can't say that out loud. Like, yes, Bruins fans, all of us can see that you're not doing it, but don't admit it. Like, at least be like, yeah, like we're trying to rebuild now. Like, like our time has come. Like we've been in the playoffs this long. Our time has come. Like, now it's time to, change, rebuild. But don't say, oh, I'm not doing my job. Like, come on, man. Bro, that's so bad. That's so bad. And I'm so here for it. Yeah, let's go. I hope he gets fired. I hope he doesn't have a job. Let's go. I'm
Oh
hyped for
my.
this.
Oh
Let's
man.
go.
And
Bruins,
now that
we are here.
with the amount of selling the Boston Bruins have done, does this put into question what they're going to do with guys like Swayman, who just signed an 8-year extension, guys like McAvoy, who just signed an 8-year extension, guys like Pasternak, who signed an 8-year extension? If they're going to go into a rebuild, I have a feeling those guys are going to get traded for a lot of great pieces in the offseason, and I think that's what they should do. If their trajectory is a rebuild, a retool could be a possibility, and they just sign a bunch of fucking players in the offseason. Now, I have a feeling after this playoff run, Marchand, if he discontinued to play, will go back to Boston on like a cheaper deal. I think it could have just been a rental right there, for the time being in the playoffs. But yeah, moving along. Boston Bruins were not finished. They traded Brandon Carlo to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Justin's one of his favorite moves right there. But I have a lot of things to say about this on what the Leafs gave up. It seemed to be it was a three-way trade, if I'm not mistaken, with the Penguins, correct? Or was that separate?
Uh, I think it was separate.
Yeah, looking at
Yeah.
Sportsnet, it was separate. So
Like,
the
yeah.
Leafs ended up getting Brandon Carlo in exchange for Fraser Minton. Fraser
Yeah.
Minton, okay. And I was it a first or a fourth
Top five protected first.
for Brandon Carlo. Wow. Okay. Wow. What? Okay. Listen. I know you were hyping up this so badly, but you just traded one of your best prospects that you were throwing on the table for a guy like Rantanen, and not a top five protected first for Brandon Carlo.
Yeah. Yeah, but top five protected means that if it's not, they're not gonna get it. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like, the pick, like, top five protected, it's not gonna work like that.
Okay, but
Like the
okay,
Bruins are not gonna get a top
okay,
five pick.
yeah,
If
okay,
you be
okay, great. But Fraser Minton, dude, are you serious?
Yeah,
You thought Fraser Minton you
yes,
thought a prospect like Fraser Minton was worth Brandon Carlo?
yeah, I do believe that, bro. You're not listening, bro. First of all, the Leafs needed a defenseman like this. Okay, they desperately needed a defense. Brendan Carlo. Okay, he's only 28. He blocks shit ton of shots. He sacrifices the body just like Chris Tanev, and we love Chris Tanev. Okay, Brendan Carlo has experience. Okay, he's playoff performer. Right, he's a shutdown D man. Okay, this worked out tremendously. If it was Easton Cowan, yeah, I would have been fuming. Okay, Minton, we don't really know. Okay, as to what his future holds, right? Our forward core is already stacked. Okay, he was never gonna crack, the top six. The trade, I understand. We gave up a first and Fraser Minton, but you have to give to get. Okay, and Treliving took a risk. Okay, Carlo, I'm ecstatic that we added him. Okay, yes, I understand we gave up Minton in first, but you know what, bro? I can't hate on every move that Brad Treliving makes. Okay, Leafs got a big shutdown D man. He's big and he blocks shots. I can't ask for anything more. And bro, you're calling from Boston. We just fucking got a player from Boston. Like hello, like. Are you dumb, stupid, or crazy, bro? Like, what are we talking about? Yes, I understand. We might have given up, a little bit more than we should have. But, dude, we're battling to freaking win the Stanley Cup. Like the time has to be now. Okay, Minton isn't gonna help us now. He just simply wasn't. That first round pick wasn't gonna help us now. Carlo helps us now. Okay, and we have him for also next year. Okay, so I can't complain. I
Well,
can't complain. And we have him for on deal, so I
I
can't
th-
complain.
I think you could have gotten a lot more for what you gave up this deadline. 100%. It was a seller's deadline though, but yeah, I mean, like you said, they got what they needed. It is definitely a Berube now defense, as we see. The shortest guy, 6'2", in Morgan Riley. So yeah, Leafs made, I guess, in your opinion, one good move in the deadline and getting Brendan Carlo. Is that enough? Is that enough? I guess we'll find out in the playoffs.
No, no. So, honestly, I don't think it's just not gonna happen. We're not gonna win the cup. Um,
No, not at all.
it's just not gonna happen. No, not this year. I'm telling you right now. It's next year has got to be the year. This year we're just not good enough. Like we're just simply not good enough. Next year when Marner goes, because I do now think it's over. Next year when he goes, you revamp that whole forward core, and that's it. Then we go on from there. Like this year is not happening. Like yeah, sure, I'll get excited come playoff time. There's always the hope, but it's just not gonna happen, bro. But I do like the Colo edition. We'll have it for also next year, so I can't complain. Good job, good job, Brad. You woke
Cameras.
up.
Why is my camera doing this? Whatever. We'll fix it after. But until then, viewer discretion. My camera's a bit, I don't know, fuzzy, but whatever. Um, Speaking of the Leafs, they ended up what did they get? They traded Connor Dewar and Connor Timmins, and I think they got a fifth round pick for that, if I'm not mistaken. They get rid of some depth right there. They basically replaced Dewar with Lawton and Timmins with Carlo. So solid replacements right there. Um,
Replacements.
the Avalanche get Eric Johnson back. Oh my goodness, a fan favorite over there. Definitely funny press conference. He's like, I'll play 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I'll even like get the water bottles. I want to be with this team. So funny, funny to see. But he's back on the Avalanche. Daniel Sprong went to the Devils for a seventh, so it looks like they're still competing. We talked about Sabres and Rangers already. Bruins get Yoki Haru from the Sabres for a fourth. And finally, last decent trade, like I want to talk about the Senators again. They add Fabian Zetterlund, who is a streaky scorer, a guy who could fly under the radar, on the radar, on a lot of teams. So they add another piece that could definitely play in the top six. They get a fourth and a prospect, and they trade away Noah Gregor, a second and a prospect too. So very strong moves from the Senators, getting Fabian Zetterlund and Dylan Cousins. I really like those moves from them. They're a decent, like a scary looking forward group right now, heading into the playoffs and the wild card race. They're looking really strong. All right, so top five winners and top five losers of the deadline. Who do you got for losers?
Uh, Not in order. I'm gonna
Not in
just put it
order,
out
not in
there.
order.
Not
Just
in order.
five, teams you think lost.
Top five losers. Oh goodness. I think the Rangers are losers. Rangers are definitely losers. Detroit are losers. They did literally nothing. Iserman, bro, like you gotta do something for this Red Wings for these Red Wings fans, bro. Like no way that was the only deal. Fucking Joe Villano. I think Montreal are losers, bro. Like, dude, they have to like they're in a playoff battle. Like, let's not like act like they're not in a playoff battle. Like they're fighting for the wild card. They're only 2 points back, and Ottawa got better. Yes, Detroit didn't really do much, and the Rangers didn't really do much. But dude, this was a good opportunity for the Canadians to bolster that team, knowing that other teams around them didn't really do much.
Yeah.
I think the Habs. I think the Habs lost, bro.
Yeah,
They,
they
they,
didn't do
they this
anything.
was a this opportunity. This was a tremendous opportunity. Um, Losers. I think the Leafs. Oh God, the Leafs deadline was not great. I think we lost on this one. Lon, and it's really because of that Lon deal. That like Lon doesn't really move the needle. I think we lost at this deadline. Yeah, the Carlo deal is cool, but like, bro, we needed a left winger. Didn't address that. And he overpaid for a depth center. Like, I don't understand how that could be a win. We didn't win this deadline at all. Um, and honestly, the Devils. And it's not because, and it's really not because of their deals. It's just that like, it just the timing of their injuries. Their injuries just killed them. And yeah, like they won today 2-1, but like they didn't have a good deadline. Like I sure you got a Brian Dumoulin, but like bro, that's not gonna do anything to help Jack Hughes replace Jack Hughes and freaking Dougie Hamilton. Like it's just not gonna happen. So yeah, those are my losers of this deadline.
All right, my losers of the deadline. Oh, first of all, I'm going to put teams in the middle. The Capitals, Kings, Jets, Oilers. Those are teams in the middle. I can't see them losing or winning. They just got what they needed. Nothing too crazy that they looked really strong, but they added pieces that they needed. Losers, my Habs. I agree with you 100%. They didn't fucking do anything. This would have been a great opportunity to get a guy like Dylan Cousins to bolster that fucking centerman position. Can't rely on Suzuki and Coffer for much longer. And that game against Calgary proved it last night. A 1-0 fucking
It 1-0.
crazy goalie battle between Wolf and Dobish. It was an insane game to watch between those two teams. But man, they really should have been all over some players at the deadline. I mean, Kuzmenko could have been a fucking player they added for a second with all the picks the Habs have in the world. They could have added a Kuzmenko. They could have added a centerman. They could have added so many good pieces, but they didn't. So I guess we'll see what happens if they go for the playoff spot. They do have lots of picks. They do have Deminoff coming in. They do have Reinbacher. They do have Jacob Fowler. They have a lot of prospects, so it's fine. If we miss playoffs by a couple points, it's a step in the right direction anyway because we were kind of out of it last year, kind of close to the last place in the Eastern Conference last year. So improvement. Hopefully they make it. Vancouver, Seattle, two important games we need to win right there. Next, the Rangers, like you said, sold a lot of good pieces like Ryan Lindgren and Riley Smith, and didn't really add much. They added Carson Soucy, great. However, to me, they could have done a lot more for a team that should be in a playoff spot right now, but obviously are not. And a loss to the Senators yesterday, really put the mark on this team. And now they have another game in an hour and a bit against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So we'll see what happens there. But the Rangers should have done a bit more. The Red Wings also did fuck all. They got Peter Mrazek and Craig Smith, two guys who should be retired or in Russia playing for the KHL. They are not good enough. They are not good enough to play in the NHL. Mrazek is shit, and Craig Smith is like 35, 36, whatever, and he's trash. Okay, the Red Wings didn't do anything. They gave up a young player for garbage that can't even fucking fit in their lineup. Next, the Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins, man, blew up their team, Justin, and they didn't really get a lot, in my opinion, back. They got Minton, great. He's going to be a Leaf killer, by the way. Um, they also got, I think, a first round pick as well, great. Other than that, what do they really get in return? They got Lauko,
Well,
whatever. They got a sixth. Um,
they
not
got
much, not
they
much,
got
man.
bad.
They got a second. If I'm looking here, they got Middlestat. So I still think they're losers because they just blew up their team, and they're still competing in the playoffs. So why blow it up now? They're not going to be good in the future, and which is nice for us because I fucking hate Boston. They always win, but I'm just going to call them losers because they're rivals to the Habs, and now I'm excited to see them fall. And hopefully they trade Pastrnak, Swayman, and McAvoy, and they're bad for decades to come. And number one, my biggest losers of the deadline, the Toronto fucking Maple Leafs, because that Lawton deal was garbage. Garbage. I don't care. I don't give a shit. You know TSN, the Glazers over there. My goodness, I love this deal for the Maple Leafs. I love Lawton on this team. I love Brandon Carlo on this team. They are glazing this team for no reason. The Maple Leafs, the Lawton deal, like you said, honestly, a first round pick for Scott Lawton is crazy. Nelson would have been that perfect position. Brad Treliving with the seeing what the Panthers did all week, all week. Same with Tampa, what they did. He took no inspiration whatsoever and gave up a lot for what he could have he didn't give up anything, man. It's honestly insane. And they gave up a good prospect in Fraser Minton. They gave up a first round pick, and and they couldn't get the pieces like Florida, what Florida got, what Tampa got. They couldn't do that. And now, my goodness, man, if they meet the Florida Panthers in the first round, it is so over. I do not care. Scott Lawton is not going to get the game winner in Game 7 for you. Brandon Carlo is not going to get the game winner for you against the Florida Panthers. They like Brad Marchand should have been a Maple Leaf, in my opinion. That's a guy that the
Yeah.
Toronto Maple Leafs should have went after. Was a left wing, literally exactly what they needed. A left winger who could score goals and be a pest. That is literally exactly what the Leafs needed. He's from Toronto. He grew up a Leafs fan, and they didn't go for him. They traded a first round pick for Scott Lawton. They could have traded that to the Bruins for Marchand, and they would have had 50% retention on the salary. Unbelievable. Toronto Maple Leafs, losers of the deadline for me. The biggest losers. I don't care if Brandon Carlo is Jesus, okay? He's not good enough for this team to win the Stanley Cup. It's just true. It's just true. But yeah, we'll talk about the wild card race now. Um, Especially in the East. First of all, Ottawa locking up that first wild card spot right currently, 3 points ahead of the Rangers for that spot. Columbus, I believe, is in the second spot with 1 point back on Ottawa or 2 points back. Rangers, Habs, Red Wings, all within 2 points, 1 point. So it is very close there. I have no who do heading to, a month from now we have the playoffs. Who do you really think is going to make those two wild card spots? After we said last month, I think you said Columbus and Rangers. I think I said Rangers
It have.
and Habs. I said Rangers and Habs. What do you think?
Um, I still think Columbus are going to make it. Marchand goes back healthy, and Marinsky's back healthy, so I think they'll be fine. I think they'll squeak in there. Dude, it's gonna be the Rangers. I'm not, dude. You already know I'm not giving the Ottawa Senators praise, and say they're gonna make the playoffs. Dude, they're not gonna make the playoffs. It's gonna be the Rangers still. It's gonna be Jackets and Rangers. It's still gonna be them. Still gonna be them.
I have a little
100%.
hot take today. I will say right now, um, yeah, I think the winner of the Columbus Rangers game is going to take over that third spot in the Metro, and the New Jersey Devils are going to lose their playoff spot. I think that there are
Oh,
better. I think there are better teams in New Jersey right now, and Markstrom is also still out. Let's not forget. So we'll see.
oh
Or is
no,
he
no,
back? Is he back?
no. He's played. He played this week.
He did play
Yeah.
this week, but still, I think the Rangers, man, if they can get going, I think they could definitely steal that spot, especially with the loss of Jack Hughes and Dougie Hamilton. And like you said, Columbus is still on the radar to, co-
Okay. Okay.
continue what they're doing. Um, Man, as for the wild card, okay. I'll say right now, I think the Rangers will go and take that third Metro spot. I think they're going to go on a little bit of a
Okay.
streak. I think Ottawa will probably get that playoff spot as much as I hate it. I don't want to say it. Ottawa will probably get it. I like what they added. Montreal's going to fall. Uh, as much as I hate to say it, Detroit's going to fall. Um, I don't know. I don't know. It's between New Jersey or Columbus. You know what? I'll say New
Let's go
Jersey.
Columbus.
I'll say New Jersey. I don't think New Jersey are going to fall out that badly. I just think they're going to lose their third division spot, and we're going to get Rangers Hurricanes in the first round.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe. But yeah.
I want to talk about a couple more things before we end off here. Stars and Oilers last night was insane. Oh my goodness, the body checks that Rantanen was taken all game, unbelievable. 5-1 going into the third period for the Oilers. What a disaster it looked like. But the Stars battled back, but they only lost 5-4. Um, could that be a conference final matchup right there?
No, not a chance. Bro, not a chance, bro. Oilers not making conference final, bro. Stop this, bro. Dude. The Oilers are not going to win a Stanley Cup probably in my lifetime. Like it's just not gonna happen. Like nobody fears the Oilers, bro. Like I'm telling you right now, dude. Okay, like the Kings don't fear the Oilers, bro. They're probably gonna meet again. Kings, I can guarantee you right now, do not fear the Oilers. They're like, yeah, we can beat this Oilers team. Like, come on, like enough. Oilers are not even making it past the second round. They might not even make it past the first round. So nobody fears the Oilers. I'm telling you right now, this Oilers downfall is gonna hit. It's gonna hit, and we are here for this. We
Um,
are here.
so I want to talk about the Western Conference juggernauts. I was gonna say we were talking about the first round matchup that I was talking with the Dallas about the Dallas Stars who they could play. Colorado looks like that will be the first round matchup right there. Like we could see Rantanen taking on his former team in the first round. One of those superstar those juggernauts, Stanley Cup favorites, could be out in the first round. Insane.
I'm telling you right now, the Avs should lose to get first wild card and play the Jets.
I think so too.
Just let Minnesota have that third in the Central and just let them just get steamrolled by the Stars. Like, bro, I'm telling you right now, playing Winnipeg are much easier than playing the Dallas Stars. So, like, bro, do you honestly believe the Avs are like, oh no, like we have to play the Jets? Like, bro, they're probably like salivating. They're like, oh yes, like the Jets. Here we go. We're gonna beat them like how we did last year. Like, bro, they don't want to face the Stars. They don't want to face Mikko Rantanen. They don't want to do that, bro. I'm telling you right now, they're gonna purposely tank in like the final couple games of the season.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh well, whoops. Like, bro, telling you, bro.
Last but not least, before we conclude the podcast, Leafs versus Avalanche. That game last night. What did you think? Leafs were up 4-2, I think in the third period. Was it the third period? And they blew it and lost 7-4. What do you think?
Bro, we got outplayed. Dude, we got outplayed. Dude, we had 11 shots on goal through 2 periods. Dude, the Avs were like absolutely dominating us. And again, those games like yesterday are continue to show me why we cannot hang around with the big boys. Bro, like
Vegas,
imagine
Vegas,
Vegas,
Colorado.
in the game earlier in the week, Vegas, dude, it was 5-0, and I was like, bro, I can't stay up for this. Like, I was trying my hardest, but like, bro, I literally had to go to sleep. And you know, I stay up for these West Coast games. But I'm like, bro, why? We're literally down 5-0 to Vegas, right? So I was like, okay, we can't hang around Vegas, can't hang around the Avs. Again, that shows me that we probably can't hang around the Florida Panthers if we eventually meet them. Yeah, we got steamrolled yesterday, 7-4. Yeah, we were winning like 4-3, but bro, when you watch the game, the scoreboard doesn't reflect how the game is going. Okay, I'm tired of people like, oh yeah, well they were up 4-3. Bro, watch the actual game itself, bro. We were getting cooked. Okay, McKinnon did his thing. Chushkin Hattie. Yeah, Marner had a couple good goals. JT had a couple, had a couple goals. But bro, Morgan Riley. People on Twitter on Friday were like, "Oh my gosh, bro, Morgan Riley got this new defensive defenseman, bro. He's gonna go off." Yeah. How about yesterday when he's turning over the puck to Chushkin, okay, ringing it around the boards and giving him his hat-trick goal? What the hell was that? Okay, and he was like a -3. Like, bro, are we being for real? But yeah, we got cooked. We're just not good enough. Like, and that's it. As simple as that. We're just not good enough.
Yeah, Leafs are not better than the Panthers. They're not better than the Stars. They're not better than the Avalanche. They're not better than
Not better than
Washington.
Knights.
They're not better than the
No.
Knights. Yeah, man, it's gonna be. I'd say the Leafs are like third, if not fourth best team in the East. Maybe fifth if Tampa is better. But yeah,
Better than
man, it's yeah. I think the Leafs need to avoid the Panthers at all costs, and that
yeah.
and that means winning the division and potentially the conference and
Yeah.
playing the second wild card. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Desperately.
because
Um.
there's also potential for them to meet the Rangers.
Oh yeah, bro. We're not. Dude, okay. Oh, dude. We're not beating the Rangers. Like, it's not happening. I don't care that we beat them at home. We beat them in MSG 2 weeks ago. We got outplayed. Like, watch the game, bro. We got outplayed. I don't care that we won 3-2. We were getting dominated.
Uh,
If we played the Panthers first round, somehow, because it could happen, we're losing. We play the Rangers first round, we're losing. Like, that's it. Sure, we'll beat the Lightning. We'll beat the Sens 100%. We'll beat the Jackets. But bro, Rangers and Florida, we're not beating. We're not beating. We're not beating. We're not beating. It's not happening. It's
And
not.
that will do it for this episode of the AJ Sports Podcast. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed our trade deadline breakdown. We had a lot of fun talking about it, especially the shitty Maple Leafs fucking ads in Scotland or whatever, because disappointing in my opinion. And same with Justin, as a big fan himself, was not very happy with the ad of Lawton and the return that they had to give up. But that'll do it for this episode of the AJ Sports Podcast. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed. I'm not sure when we'll be back this week, considering we're going to get this out either today or Monday. But until then, there's Leafs play. I think the Leafs play Monday against Utah, so they're still continuing that road trip.
Yep.
And I think,
Oh, you already know.
and I think they go back home after that. And who I know they're playing the Senators Saturday, but they might be back home earlier in the week. So enjoy this week's hockey.
Yeah, they play the Panthers on Thursday.
Lovely. So
Nice. In
we could
Toronto.
we could potentially see um, Marchand playing against the Leafs Thursday.
Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, Panthers play the Bruins on Tuesday. So,
That
so yeah.
that'll be that'll be a nice matchup right there.
Yeah.
So we will see what happens there. Until then, enjoy your week. We will see you guys on the next one. Take care and peace.